Hi, everyone. Just give it a few more minutes, then we'll go ahead and get started. A few more folks are still coming in. Okay, I am showing 12 noon exactly on Eastern Standard Time, so let's get to it. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you scheduling this in your day. I'm very excited to be able to spend some time with all of you. And I want to just say on the front end, I am okay with you all talking. So if I don't remember to pause and say that, know that jump in wherever you fit in. I'm going to pick on you, Donna. I see you smiling right now amongst everyone else as well. But so you guys help me out with that. This is not meant to make me talking at you. I like interaction. So just know that you're welcome to jump in wherever you fit in. So let's go ahead. Hang on one second, a couple more people here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Just want to do a quick check. Can you see my PowerPoint on the?
Yes,
okay, you can.
Yep.
Great, perfect. All righty, so since you already know what we're talking about today, I'm going to just get going with it. But we are dialoguing about values-based leadership because I know that many of you work in the work comp space, and I see some folks here who don't, and I'm so happy to see that people understand that the work that we do encompasses many career paths all at the same time. So that's great. But we'll be talking again about what it means to be a values-based leader, and then how to become more self-aware, how to serve yourself and others from a place of integrity in everything that you do and think. We'll be talking about, I will be addressing this from a personal and professional standpoint, because together it makes the complete you. So I don't want you to assume that I'm really speaking only from a career perspective, because I am not. But I am here to tell you that having integrity, having morals, and being an upright person is not old school. And I know that with everything going on in the world, it appears that maybe some people have forgotten that having morals and being an upright person are great values that anyone should encompass. Now, the key focus today on the learning will be, one moment, get my slides together here. But the key training today will focus on intentionality. You'll hear me say that quite a few times on purpose. And then awareness of your thoughts, behaviors, and forward-focused actions. So again, forward-focused. And then defining values-based leadership and the benefits of redefining your core values. And I'm sure everyone wants benefits. We like benefits, right? So while we're together, you'll actually begin, this is my goal, I'll need you to participate willingly, but it's my goal that you will be able to begin to craft your own blueprint, your own personal blueprint that you'll take with you as a guide to redefine your future. So you'll need something to write with. You're welcome to take screenshots of the slides if that's helpful, but definitely have paper, pen, or a tablet, whatever you use. Now, To do these exercises today, I'm encouraging you to take a high level inventory of your life. I know that we're only here for an hour, so we're going to be moving kind of fast, but think broadly, and then you can come back to this to work through the assignments that I'm actually going to leave you with. You can work on those when you are quiet and still, because it's going to involve or require that you just take some time to think about your life and where you want it to go in the future, and how you want that to look and feel. So again, we're going to create a rough draft as you envision and reestablish the foundation for your own life, personally and professionally. You'll also have a takeaway to craft an action plan. So we'll be walking through how to do that and what it looks like. Now, to ensure that we all have the same understanding of today's mission, hold on one second, let me let some folks in. Okay, to ensure that we all have the same understanding of today's mission, you will need to understand that a blueprint is an architectural depiction of the appearance of a building. I know that you already know that, but I just want to level set. So the blueprint is the architectural depiction of the appearance of a building inside and out. It's a detailed plan of action that will be built. So it begins with, and is required actually to begin with, a strong foundation. So to sum it up, to redefine or to reimagine, you too will want to create a blueprint for your own life with a strong foundation. Okay. Now, before we get going further, let me also be clear when I use the word leadership, because it isn't defined solely by a workplace title. We're here today to talk about leadership being a state of mind. It's how your thoughts and your actions can allow you to accomplish anything that you've dreamed of, or can cause you to live in a status quo existence. You actually get to choose, because it is all about you for purposes of why we're here today. So that doesn't suggest that you're being selfish, because people have said that to me. Well, it seems like that's selfish. I want to debunk that as a myth. If it's your life, you are the person who has the opportunity, unlimited opportunities, to choose to play outside of the lines, which is what I'm encouraging you to do, so that you can create the totality of who you're truly destined to be. I'm also encouraging you to choose to view your entire life through a lens of holistic leadership. And when I use the word holistic, what I mean is having a lifestyle that you have designed with intent to honor and value yourself and others through your thoughts, behaviors, and actions. So we're back to intentionality with everything. Now, Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines holistic as relating to or concerned with the complete system rather than a dissection into parts. So of course, it does include your mind, your body, and your soul, or your spirit, whichever word you prefer. Now, I'm also going to give you food for thought in a quote that I found in an article published in Forbes. The author is Brent Gleason, and he highlighted some traits of values-based leaders. These are characteristics that leaders typically have, such as being a person who practices self-reflection of decisions and motivators on a daily basis. He says doing this provides you with the opportunity to reflect on your core values, determine your purpose, and discover what truly matters to you as a leader in all decisions that you make. Further, he also says doing this equips you to know when to lead, when to follow, and when to get yourself out of the way. I emphasize that. I'm going to ask by a show of hands, has anyone recognized when you know that you need to get out of your own way? So I'm going to be the first volunteer to raise my hand because I think it happens and we know, but sometimes we don't acknowledge that. So now leading by honoring your core values and reassessing or adjusting when applicable allows you to embrace again the totality of who you're meant to be. So in doing that, it's ideal that you also create a written values statement. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but that will be the foundation. So keep in mind when we're talking today about identifying and redefining your core values, we're also speaking of core values being the foundation of your own unique personal blueprint for your life, professionally and personally. So now values-based leaders know when to reassess and readjust. It doesn't just happen though, you have to practice it. Just like with everything, the more often you pause to think about, are your core values the same? Has anything changed? Do you want to eliminate some that previously worked well and served well, but you're a different person now, particularly if you've gone through any life-changing events, let's say even just in the past year. I could say going back to 2020 when the pandemic began, but I think many of us have had some life-changing events that we experienced just last year alone. So you don't have to look so far back. Just be mindful that ideally it's important that you reassess after any life-changing events. So being self-aware, being a lifelong learner, and then proactively choosing to create opportunities rather than waiting and hoping for opportunities to come to you. These are all examples of values-based leaderships, focusing on your strengths rather than your weaknesses, because we can trip ourselves up and get in our own way when we start focusing on the things we say we don't do well versus honing in on the things that we do well because they are our strengths. Now, as we go a little more, as we go forward, I'm going to pause just a second to give you a little insight as to who I am, who's this person talking to you, because I kind of got started. I know several of you, but not all. So just want to highlight very briefly, I'm a person who is inspired and guided by my faith. Can't say I always knew that that would be a superpower, but as I matured, I'm not old, I'm forever young, just in case you were confused. But it is a superpower for me. Now, I've lived with the motto, stay ready so you don't have to get ready for decades because it works for me. And so the things that I know can amp me up and get me excited about making changes or redefining my own core values are when I think about staying ready so I don't have to get ready. So if opportunities do come my way or I choose to create one, I tend to be ready more often than I'm not. I also am a graduate of Ohio University with a bachelor's degree in journalism. I think it's important for you to know that I'm a divorced mom of 2 daughters. I am the former caregiver of both of my parents. I happen to be a published author, and I'm the former director of in workers' comp of the Return to Work program, managed care and vendor relations for Macy's and Bloomingdale's after a 22-year career in leadership. Now, something you may not know, kind of unique about me, is I requested a severance package because it was offered for about 5 years. And I kept saying, I'm good. I love my job. I'm not ready. I'm not old enough. I had all the reasons. Until I would say in 2018, fourth quarter, I started looking at my own life and my future differently. There were a lot of things going on in the world, and I felt a strong desire to leave corporate, which I never could have imagined because I knew I wanted to work in corporate in college. So in 2018, I began feeling a calling, a strong desire to create my own business, which I also said I would never do because I liked getting a bi-weekly paycheck. So I thought I wouldn't until it started really feeling like it's the right next step. So yes, I requested a severance package because I wanted that money to use as part of my startup costs. So I'm being totally transparent. And then immediately after I pieced out, I went on a pre-planned 2 week girl trip to Johannesburg and to Cape Town, South Africa. I mentioned that just so you understand that international travel ranks very high for me on my list of core values. So what I do now is I took all the knowledge from all those 22 years of leading teams and also lessons learned from my own personal journey as a divorced mom who still focused on advancing a career, who then also became the caregiver for her parents back to back. So imagine all of these things happening pretty much at the same time through those years. That is what has led me to doing the work that I do now, which is equipping workers' comp and other leaders who have experienced divorce or caregiving or both, with a blueprint to redefine your own core values, thoughts, and vision so that you can thrive as well after you've experienced any of these types of life challenging situations. Now, I do this work also because adulting can be challenging when lifing takes unexpected turns. So I'm sure that you would agree. Having a vision for your life and the will to take forward action and the tenacity to keep going, even when you may be uncertain, has a way of increasing your confidence and your clarity and can place you in rooms that you may have never imagined. I do this work just because I believe in humanity. I also believe that when things aren't going the way you would like, that you should not, and that you do not have to accept things that no longer resonate with you. So I want to encourage and motivate you today to be the person who, even though you may not have the answers, have the will to make changes in your life professionally and personally when you know that it is appropriate to do so. So now my opinion is also that thriving is more than a word. I want you to believe that it's a lifestyle of triumphant progression. And it requires the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not yet seen. Is anyone familiar with that quote? It's not mine, but I believe in it wholeheartedly. And it's biblical for those who weren't familiar. So now, let's get to it. And before I move on, I did show this. I'm showing this video here. Now, the reason for this is just to demonstrate the ability, the opportunity to work on your entire being, because we talked about a holistic mindset, holistic lifestyle. And there were many years that I abandoned working on my physical body because my children were infants or they were toddlers. And I thought that I just didn't have time to go to the gym. But in looking back, after they hit a certain age, I mean, that really shouldn't have been the excuse that I gave myself unconsciously, because one, their dad was available. So I don't know why I thought I couldn't go to the gym. But then when they got older, I still thought I couldn't, but they have locations for children on site at gyms. So these are things I learned in hindsight, just because of trying to keep up with life and being all the places all the time. Sometimes we miss the obvious. And so that's why I share that. Holistically, you want to keep your body strong, and that comes from exercise. We are meant to do some type of exercise. So you don't have to do weightlifting or be a runner like me, but there's something. Take breaks at lunch. Often I work through lunch because I didn't have time to take lunch, but you really do. So just wanted to throw that in. Okay, so now here we are looking again at being intentional. I want you to think of this as the beginning of laying your foundation. So it's important for you to remember the overall framework, again, of any building, any structure has to have a strong foundation. And for you in your personal life, you too want to be strong in your mind, body, and spirit and soul. So becoming a more effective leader requires you to make rather than to avoid making decisions. It also requires you to become clear on what you want to achieve and why. Okay. So, by a show of hands again, who believes that intentionality is a power position? When you're intentional, does it give you power? Do you feel confident? Are you focused? So, the reason I say this is because I hope that you hear my voice later saying intentionality over and over today, because I do believe and have learned that there's power in intentionality. No longer sitting back and hoping and wishing. That's fine. But at some point, I want you to stop hoping and wishing and become intentional about how you live your life and what you do. And when you don't have all the answers, know that there are people who can guide you and help in that regard. So you don't have to know everything when you're intentional. You can create a vision first, look at building the strategy later, but you need to know where you're wanting to go. So focusing on the vision. A lot of people don't move forward because they're so focused on, I don't know what to do to get there. And I'm saying reverse it, strongly suggesting that you start with having the future, the destination, where you want to go. We can get you there. That's the easy part. Having the vision takes a little more time. So I did say easy. I don't mean to minimize it. It's not easy, but it's doable. It's very possible when you have the vision. So now, what if I told you that it's believing and being aware so much so of your capabilities that you're able to actually position yourself to redefine at will without any self-imposed limitations? I believe that each of you can do that, and that you can each embody that mindset. But what matters isn't what I believe, it's about what you believe. So again, I also encourage you to embrace my model, which I previously shared. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. It's worked well for me, and I believe it'll work well for you too. But again, it's all about your mindset. Quick survey. So I'm looking for hands up again. Has anyone here experienced a life-changing event such as a breakup, a loss of job, loss of a loved one, whom you may have provided physical care for or emotional care, loss of joy, loss of clarity, loss of peace? So most of us have experienced some type of loss. You get my point. So after you've experienced these challenges, has anyone felt differently? Have you known what your future should look like and feel like after you've gone through different challenges? Or did you have some questions, trying to redefine what you want because you're trying to be intentional? So next, I'm going to also ask you, just volunteers. This is a crossroad or a depiction. Has anyone ever been at one in your life? Anyone experience it? I have. Full disclosure, I probably have experienced more than one crossroad. And so it's here where you're forced to make a decision, right? Because you can't just sit there in limbo. So you go left, right, whatever you want to call it. But it's when I've been at my own crossroads a few times that eventually I recognized that I had options. I could continue to replay the same events over and over in my mind, wishing for a different outcome while questioning why things happened in the ways that I wish they hadn't. Or I could choose to give myself a deadline to take the first step toward the freedom that I wanted by no longer wishing when I could be doing. So that's important. Why wish when you can do? So now here's where I want you to consider taking some notes, because I know that we're moving kind of fast. Here's a strategy. I'm going to give you a strategy. You won't be able to complete it, but this is one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning that I would encourage that you do during your own time when it's quiet. So your first step is to begin to, well, first be still, be quiet. Have something to write with, or a tablet or a laptop, whatever it is that you use to notate. But I want you to consider brainstorming to begin to create and lay the groundwork for the rough draft of the foundation that we talked about at the beginning of this presentation. So you're building you're crafting the foundation for what you want to build in the next phase of your life, if you happen to be a person who is at a place in life where you're wanting to move forward in a different direction, more intentionally. So now your assignment, should you choose to accept, is that you write down or you notate top 10 core values. Here's where I don't want you to give it a ton of thought, but I would want you just to write down your 10 core values that you can think of. Now, these are values that you feel very strongly about. Now, if you pump out 10 core values, I know that you've not had time yet to really process them. That's why I want you to complete this later. But whatever number you've written down, I would then ask you in step 2 to eliminate 5 of the 10. So now you're going to have to think about that a little. And then once you've eliminated those 5, you're going to eliminate 3 more. So ideally, the goal is that what you have left after you've processed this in your quiet time is that you'll be able to identify your number 1 core value. This is the one that you define as your ride or die top value, the one that is absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt, the most important one that you commit to always honoring, regardless of what may happen. So that's going to take you a little time to think through. But if you didn't know what your ride or die always will honor through thick and thin core value is, this will be an ideal time to think about it later today, because I encourage you to know what that is. Things happen in life, whether it's in your career, your family, wherever, but we all should know what that one top value is that we will embrace, maybe make decisions based upon what that value is and how you learn to align it with every decision that you make. So that's important. Your core values are your North Star, right? That's your moral compass. So you should know what it is that you are going to lean on regardless of any adversity. What's that one thing that you will not sacrifice? So we don't have to share, but I do want you to remember that as you are building out the foundation for the blueprint of your life, personally and professionally, your core values are the foundation. So you want to intentionally redefine, maybe if you've not thought about it in a long time, this is a good time. We're still in the first quarter of the year. So redefining is, I believe, can be very eye-opening. Now that we all have experienced some things in life, we know more. You know, we're not 18 anymore. We've learned some things. So what do your core values look like? What do you stand for? So again, these are the beliefs that help you to define right from wrong. They bring joy when times are good and hope when times are less than desired. They represent your highest priority. So honoring them provides you with some direction, some stability, some peace of mind. So has anyone here, by show of hands, redefined your core values this year? Anyone? All right, thanks. That's great. So I am going to skip a slide here. Just bear with me. Now, as you are beginning to redefine your vision for the next phase of your life that you're intentionally wanting to create, this is still a part of building the blueprint for your life. So you've laid the foundation, because at this point you know that you're going to redefine your core values. So the next process to continuing to build that foundation from a holistic perspective by taking inventory of your life is that you'll focus on creating imagery. Now, this imagery requires that you are not concerned with how to get there. Remember, I mentioned that earlier. So we're taking it one step at a time, because if you think about how, or start talking yourself out of the ability to get there, then you've already defeated the whole purpose and having the power within, because you're all a leader in your personal and professional lives. So keeping in mind, we're only talking about creating the vision. Here's another quote for you. Without a vision, the people will perish. Anyone heard that before? So that comes from Proverbs 29. Vision, creating your vision is important. Now, it's important also that you not lose sight of what I'm saying, because some people will move forward slightly, maybe a step, maybe 2 steps. Then they become overwhelmed at times because of the magnitude of what they think it would take to make their vision become a reality. So sometimes overthinking happens, and then you become paralyzed, and you never fulfill the dream or the vision that is actually meaningful to you. So we'll talk about that a little bit today also. But recognize that it is a process and it does take time, which again is why it's important for you to carve out time in your day that you can be quiet and not interrupted by any distractions, just so you can think and kind of, remember what you said that looks like for you. What is the vision? What are your core values? So now we've only talked about 2 steps in laying your foundation. Okay. So a few tips as you consider creating the vision are here on the slide, just to kind of give you some places, some things you might consider, but do not limit yourself to what you see here. These are mere examples to get you thinking. So feel free to take a screenshot if it's helpful for you to come back to it later. Now, we're talking about values, not monetary. I just want to throw that out there. So this goes deeper than having a value around how much you're worth financially or how much you make in your salary. I just want to be clear. We're going deeper. So the rest will come when you honor your values and live in the totality of who you are can be. The rest will come. So moving forward. Now, once you know what your areas are that you want to redefine, here's another strategy for you. I would want you to look at each of those items. So if you say it's career or it's fun because you're so serious or you're so focused on work that you forgot to create time or to show up when others invite you to go do something spontaneously. Sometimes we get so focused that we think, oh, well, I didn't have advance notice. Well, live a little. Be spontaneous. It feels good and it is okay. So I want you to, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate each item that you choose when you're working on the areas that you may want to redefine. So you're going to rate them 1 to 10. 1 is the complete opposite of the vision you've created for your future, but 10 is the exact likeness of your vision. And that way, once you've done that, then you can go back and look at the ones that you've selected, whatever the rating is. You can then maybe determine which ones you'll eliminate versus the areas you actually want to focus on first. So you can do them sequentially with your most important, but you gotta think through that as well to determine what's most urgent for you. What's the one, or that's the most important that you want to start with first. So then you'll create an action plan of what it is you want to change in whatever you define as the first area that you want to work on. So keep in mind, you'll always take into consideration your core values. So next, want to just get to step 3 of your blueprint. So we've talked a little about why people don't execute, why people maybe have a vision, but don't go forward with it because of overwhelm, because of fear of making a misstep, making an assumption. Now let's talk about assumptions. And that's thinking because something happened before, it'll happen again. So maybe you wanted to get a certification from the new work comp college. Let's go with that for those of you in the industry. But you previously had enrolled in some type of course and you didn't do so well in it. So you just assume that you won't again. So those are the types of thoughts be mindful of, because often we have them, but we don't realize what's going on. And that's the thing that has prevented you from embracing your life in the totality of which it is. So be aware. And then there are the interpretations that we sometimes have unknowingly, which is the story or the judgment that you tell yourself and you believe it to be true, even when it's factually not true. So that's another area to be mindful of. How you interpret things isn't always factual unless you pause and think about what that excuse is that you may have believed to be true that has limited you. Now, there are other limiting beliefs that are stereotypes or generalizations that maybe you learned as a child and you believe that it's true when again, there's no factual evidence. So everything I've just talked about are all aspects of limiting beliefs that raise their ugly heads sometimes after you have experienced some type of a loss or you have some type of fear about moving forward. Sometimes it's coming from any of the 4 things that I just highlighted. So I just say that so that you're mindful of evaluating your own thoughts to determine if there's any factual evidence or if the thought you have that's holding you hostage is coming from one of these areas. Now, the important message again is remember that limiting beliefs often occur with 0 factual evidence. So I want to give you a quote from my book that is relative to what we're talking about. So the name of my book is When Your Soul Whispers, and it's full of strategies for leaders to redefine values and move forward after life's transitions. It's on page 6 in the introduction, and I quote, "Only those who are ready to actually make changes will jump over the hurdles in life that become present. You may wonder why you've not been able to transition successfully into your new phase of life, but it takes time, practice, and most definitely your willingness to work in the gray or the unknown areas at times." Now, here's a strategy I didn't invent this, so I'm not here to take credit for it, but I think it's very appropriate and works well for many people. So it's called AIM SMART, 2 words, AIM SMART. And you'll see at the top, this is when you're wanting to create goals, goals to take the first step or whatever your goal is. The goal could be, this is my vision, but to actually begin the process to move forward, I need additional information about, A, B, or C, whatever that is. That's still a part of a goal or a strategy that you can use to outline and create your own action plan to make sure that you don't forsake moving towards your vision. So if you're not familiar with AIM SMART, please take a screenshot so that you can come back to that as well, because it is very beneficial for getting where and creating momentum. So you think sometimes we don't move forward because it feels like it's too much to do or because of the uncertainties, but identifying what's the minimum you can do, what's the first step that you can take toward getting a little momentum. And as you begin to move, you will begin to receive clarity. You may not have total clarity of how to get there, but it brings clarity of what the next step could or should be. So this is a very good process or strategy that you can utilize to get going. Hang on 1 second. Are you able to still see my slide? Okay. So again, in looking at the steps, we're moving from the foundation to action, okay? So remember that you've got 5 choices. You can stay right where you are and keep talking and thinking about it, or you can continue to avoid totally, abort mission. You can accept where you are in life, or you can alter how you view the situation, meaning how you view moving forward, how you view taking some time to actually work on the vision of what's important for you. So this is another strategy that you can utilize when life starts happening and there may be some distractions that occur. Does this make sense to everyone? Am I making sense? Okay. So I'm going to give you another quote from my book, because my point here is that don't lose sight that you matter. Your thoughts matter, your actions matter, and what you choose to do can either empower or it can derail you. So again, it's your choice. I want you to choose wisely for you. So in my book, chapter 2, page 12, freedom, this is a quote, freedom is the ability to choose to create the life that resonates with you. So don't think that you can't choose, and don't think that you can't move forward, because you can. So now as we close, you have now learned how to build your own customized foundational blueprint for your own values-based leadership. I realize that you'll want to focus on this, drill down, and do the work that I outlined for you when you're able to just spend some time sitting with yourself. Just to refresh, what we discussed as steps for this foundation are redefining and identifying your current core values. Then we talked about sharpening your focus. Then we talked about creating a reimagined vision for your ideal future image. Then we addressed reassessing the health of your self-talk, reassessing the health of your self-talk so that you are aware of the thoughts that you have subconsciously that often have no factual basis. And then we landed on some strategies that you can utilize to take forward action. So now the last quote that I'll share from my book is, "We can become a mystery to ourselves. I want you to become curious, use integrity to dig into the layers that block your own self-honesty, because you can choose to intentionally thrive." Okay. That's chapter 4, page 37, for those of you who have the book, because I know that many of you do, and I appreciate you for that. Now, I skipped a slide. If you have interest in following me and engaging in my content, you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. I'm working on YouTube. I'm building, but it's there. And on Facebook in the business page section. Now, my website is www.liciathompson.com. And there at the beginning of the chat, you'll find the links to most of this. But I wanted to invite you, if anyone is interested in scheduling a call, there's a link for that as well. No cost, of course, but you are welcome to schedule a 30-minute call if you just want to fine tune some things that you came up with when you completed your assignments today. If you want to brainstorm or talk through that or anything else, I'm available for you. Just wanted to quickly highlight some of the services that I offer, and these are just a few, but I do have a 90-day one-to-one, so working with individuals one-to-one leadership reinvention formula, which I shared with you what that formula is. But in this, we spend time working together. You create the subject matter. You tell me, sorry, not that you create, but you inform me of the areas that you specifically want to work on. And I'll get to know you, promise, rather quickly. And so when I'm able to figure out some other areas that you could benefit from, I'll ask your permission to spend a session working on what that might be. So of course it's attached to, or it involves what you know that you want to work on, but sometimes we're not clear on some areas that we could benefit from working on as well. And so those are options. This program also includes an assessment, which gets into all the different areas of your ideal life. So areas you may or may not have even thought of, but the whole purpose is that you answer some questions, which then exposes some of those areas that they may be important and you may be struggling because of your thoughts, your beliefs, or something that happened in the past that you're still holding on to, and it's not allowing you to freely redefine your future because of whatever that is, the overwhelm, the fear, whatever that looks and feels like. But doing the assessment, I'm able to identify that for you. And then we talk through that in a debrief. And then from there, you can select the areas that you actually know that you want to work on. So additionally, I have a 2-hour, so some people don't want to work together for 90 days. I get that. If you want some quick answers, then I can do a 2-hour intensive, which moves rather quickly, but still opens up and answers questions for you and provides guidance. And I have other programs as well, but that could be discussed if we schedule time just to chat. So I just wanted to let you know there are a multitude of options. I'm going to go ahead and close this, but I am super thankful for your attendance and your participation.